Alright, this is part 2. I'll talk for 30 minutes, I'll end the video here, guys. I'll make a nice 1 hour video for you guys, and I'll upload this video around, I don't know, 9, 10, 11 o'clock today. It's about 5 o'clock right now, so I'll upload the video earlier in a couple hours from now, around 9, 5, 6, 7 hours from now, I'll upload it. Yeah, man, that's why both of Mel Gibson and Peter Jackson are so good, man. Because, you know what I'm saying, you have the Crows of the South, who are the spies of Eretag, just like in Lord of the Rings, you have those spies from Dublin. Remember Saruman's spies? Those the birds? But the birds don't talk, obviously, whereas Eretag's crows talk. You know what I'm saying? You have the wild crows that roam around the South, because the South is cursed. Just like when Jesus was on a cross, obviously, Jesus was a curse for mankind, obviously. That's why you got the crows you got the crows roaming around what, that area too, because when the moment Jesus was on the cross, he became a curse for mankind, obviously. That's why you got the crows. You got that crow that took the guy's eye out. Remember the thief on the cross? Yeah, that's why they're both really good. You guys see what I'm saying? Or yeah, I see just saying, yeah, man, they're both really good, man. Because you have both. You have some good stuff in Passion of Christ and some good stuff in Lord of the Rings. You see what I'm saying? Or that's why they're both really good, obviously. But Lord of the Rings, you have the fantasy world full, obviously, which is good, and you have the orcs. So you have the Wishing of Angmar, you have the Goblin King, obviously, and you have the wars too. Whereas Passion of Christ, there is no war. You see what I'm saying? Or that's why Lord of the Rings kind of takes the edge, obviously, for being good for Xanathus. But Passion of Christ is really good for Xanathus too. You see what I'm saying? Or they're both really, really good, man. It's tough. I wouldn't say Lord of the Rings takes the edge because Passion of Christ is rated R, and you have the story of Jesus fighting going to war against Satan. Obviously, saving dying on a cross for mankind. Obviously, you see what I'm saying? Or that's why there's some symbolism you can get from Xanathus with that. And Jesus is in agony in the beginning of the movie, and the devil says you can't save them. Obviously, yeah. Well, think something similar like that for what? For Xanathus, I won't spoil the story for you, but think something like that for Xanathus. Tachys is in agony too. It's nothing like the Bible, obviously, but like he's in agony too because he's about to go to war against the devil himself. Just like Jesus was in agony because he knew he would be separate from his father, and he knew he would suffer a bloody death, obviously, to save the human race, obviously. Tachys is in agony because he knows he's about to go to war. He knows who he's dealing with. He's dealing with the devil incarnate, the devil himself. You see what I'm saying? That's why you're looking at it. That's why they're both really good, obviously. So Peter Jackson is good for the world building, the action sequences, and the world building for my movie. Whereas Mel Gibson is better more for the horror of the demons and the biblical symbolism of Tachys being a symbol of Jesus, obviously, and the agony of Tachys. Mel Gibson's more good for the horror of the movie, obviously, and the biblical symbolism. Whereas Peter Jackson is not that good for the horror and the biblical symbolism, but he's more good for the world building. You see what I'm saying? On the action sequences. They're both really good, obviously. But Mel Gibson also did Hacksaw Ridge. He did what? He also did he did Braveheart. And he obviously knows how to do good action sequences too. You see what I'm saying? That's why they're both really good. You see what I'm saying? All you Christians around the world will probably tell me Mel Gibson's better for the movie. Whereas all the non-Christians will most likely tell me Peter Jackson's better. All you Lord of the Rings nerds on Lord of the Rings Reddit will probably tell me, yeah, I think Peter Jackson's better for your movie, Ivan. You know what I'm saying? But there's some people out there who might think Mel Gibson's better. Oh, I think Mel Gibson's better. You know what I'm saying? I think Mel Gibson will have a lot of good ideas for Ivan's movie. He's a Christian. Yeah, Mel Gibson's a Christian. Even though the Bible's fantasy and I'm God. Mel Gibson knows I'm God, obviously. You know what I'm saying? You guys know I'm God and you pray to fucking Jesus because you're crazy people, man. I was like, could you hate me that much? Even though Mel Gibson knows I'm God, don't hate me, you know what I'm saying? And he believes in Jesus, obviously, in Bible's fantasy. Because he's a supposed Christian, obviously, he'll have some good ideas for what? My movie. And Mel Gibson will see my movie as rated R. Or something tells me Peter Jackson might see my movie as, like, I don't know, 14 plus or PG-13, you know what I'm saying? Because Lord of the Rings was what? Lord of the Rings is not a scary movie. For children, it's scary, but it's not that scary of a movie. You know what I'm saying? It's PG-13. Whereas Passion of Christ is rated R, man. It's 18 plus. It's rated R. That's why Mel Gibson's good. He's good for the horror of Zaynus and the biblical symbolism. Whereas Peter Jackson's more is not really good for the horror, obviously, but he's perfect for the world building of Middle Earth, the North, the South, the orcs, the ring race, Gandalf, the wizards, obviously. Think something like Gandalf for the holy answers of the North, yeah. And he's good for the war, the action sequences. Wow, Peter Jackson will have a lot, but Mel Gibson obviously knows how to do good action sequences too, as he did Hacksaw Ridge, he did Braveheart. And he directed those movies. Hence why he knows he knows how to tell a good story too. Mel Gibson, you know what I'm saying? As Mel Gibson, in my opinion, is one of the best directors in Hollywood. He's a talented director. He has more consistency than Peter Jackson. Because Peter Jackson, all he's known for is Lord of the Rings. You look at all his non-Lord of the Rings movies, they're not really the greatest movies. You know what I'm saying? Like, King Kong was what? Was pretty good. It was okay. Mortal Engines, I heard, wasn't that good. It flopped, obviously. And what? Like, Peter Jackson's only known for... And The Hobbit wasn't that great either. Peter Jackson he's less consistent than Mel Gibson. Whereas Mel Gibson has a lot of good movies that he made, man. Braveheart, Hacksaw Ridge, Passion of the Christ. He's doing the Resurrection of Christ. He has more consistency, you know what I'm saying? You also have that too. Yeah, Mel Gibson has more consistency with his movies. He did Braveheart. I believe he won an Oscar for Braveheart. And Peter Jackson won an Oscar for Return of the King, obviously. They both have Oscars. They're both really good. There's a reason why both those directors have Oscars. Because they're fucking talented directors. I believe Mel Gibson won an Oscar for Hacksaw Ridge, I think. He was nominated, or he won, I believe. And I believe he won an Oscar for Braveheart. I believe. And Peter Jackson won an Oscar for Lord of the Rings Return of the King. He swept the whole thing, man, for Return of the King. See what I'm saying? That's why they're both really good. But The Hobbit wasn't that great. You see what I'm saying? Even though Peter Jackson did Lord of the Rings, his Hobbit series wasn't that great. Because he winged it. You see what I'm saying? That's why it's tough, man. They're both going to have to really compete for that job, man. Okay, Mel, Peter, I'm going to test your creativity. You read my book. I'm going to ask you all the questions. When you read my book, what are you thinking of for Eretad? I know, I think of Eretad as looking like a werewolf. No, I do not want Eretad looking like a werewolf. Otherwise, the movie will be pretty good, but it won't be as good. I don't want Eretad looking like a werewolf. No, I want him having what? Human features, and he's an animal. He's a wolf, obviously, but he has human features like the orcs. You know how the orcs in Lord of the Rings have human features, but they're orcs? Think something like that for Eretad. He's an animal, but he has human features. I don't want him to look like a werewolf. No. And I don't want him being a wolf on four legs. Oh my god. Otherwise it will flop, man. Oh my god. If you have Eretad as a wolf on four legs, the movie won't be as good. It'll be okay, but I can't see it beating Lord of the Rings if he's a wolf on four legs. Oh my god. I told you, Lord of the Rings is such a masterpiece. If you want Zaynus to beat it, you have to what? You have to be careful how you have to what? You have to be careful for changing a lot of things in the story. Otherwise, if you change a lot of things in the story, it will not be better than Peter Jackson. I keep saying that. Lord of the Rings is a tough franchise to beat. Even though Zaynus is a better book than Lord of the Rings, the movie is so good, Lord of the Rings, that if you want to top that story, you have to put like unheard money towards it. You have to have me act in it, obviously, as Takis. I'm perfect Takis. You see what I'm saying? You have to pay the crewmen a lot of money, that way they work harder for you, get a better movie. You pay the actors for millions, that way they work harder for you. Pay your directors a lot of money, that way they work harder for you, obviously. And you need to what? Do not change a lot of stuff in the story like Peter Jackson did for Lord of the Rings. As when you read the book very clearly, Eretad is not a wolf on four legs. No. He's a master wolf. He's an animal, but he has human features like the orcs. You know how the orcs are orcs, but they have some human features? Yeah, think of them for Eretad. Eretad is a wolf, but he has human features. He's not a wolf on four legs, no. When you read my book, it's very clear that Eretad is not a wolf on four legs, and he's not a werewolf. He's not, I'm going to keep saying this, Eretad is not a werewolf, no. He's a master wolf, devil wolf king in the south. Sincere? Ephesus is not a vampire, no. He's a bat with human features. He might look like a vampire a little bit, but he's not a vampire. He's a bat with human features. Think something like that animal picture. Remember that demon being an animal? Think something like that for Ephesus. Except 3 times scary. He looks something like that. He's a bat, but he has human features. He's a devil, obviously. And he's the king of the mountains. The king of the Gilead Mountains. The king of the He's the king of the ancient Gilead city and the Gilead Mountains, the southern Gilead, the cursed southern Gilead Mountains. It is his region, and the jaguars guard the entrance of the ancient Gilead city because the mountains are cursed. You see what I'm saying? Huh? Yeah, to get to the ancient Gilead city, you have jaguars guarding the entrance. That's why Takism have to fight them off. So if you read it carefully, you'll see what I mean. When they try to pass through the entrance, they have to fight the jaguars. The jaguars are guarding the entrance of the ancient Gilead city. What was saying so like think something like an advanced, think something like Lord of the Rings, think something like Pandora, an advanced fantasy world like better than Pandora obviously. It's that the world looks more natural. It's like Lord of the Rings. Think something like that for Zanus. It's an advanced prehistoric fantasy world. Something even better than even Pandora and Lord of the Rings. Middle Earth. You know what I'm saying? They're kind of amazing movie, obviously. But the world is like Lord of the Rings. Takis and them fight like in the world it's a fantasy world like Middle Earth, like what you got from Middle Earth, except better than Middle Earth. It's not like Passion of Christ, no. It's not like that, no. It's not like Braveheart, no. It's not like medieval times like Braveheart, no. It is a fantasy world like Middle Earth, like Lord of the Rings, except like Pandora. Pandora's a fantasy world. Middle Earth is a fantasy world. Think something like that for Zanus. Except better than that because I'm pouring honor amount of money towards the movie. You see what I'm saying? Huh? Tell Peter Jackson and Mel Gibson the way they know. Okay, look, man. I want Zanus to be an advanced prehistoric fantasy world. Something like Pandora, except it's like Lord of the Rings, except the world looks more natural. Tell them the way they know. Tell John Howe and all them that way they know that way they create an advanced kick-ass world for you and your for your movie obviously. And John Howe and Alan, you're going to be hard at work creating the world, man. Of the north, the south, all the lands, Barak, Cyrus, Saphius, Zanus, the cursed southern Gilead Mountains, the forest of Galathia, the Valley of the Dark, the Blood Valley. They have to create all that. What the Wall of Zanus, the castle, the city's edge, the northern mountains of Gilead that's holy and not cursed, at least the city's edge, the courtyard, the gardens in Zanus. When Takis is in agony, he goes to the gardens. You have the gardens in Zanus. I told you, for my book, I give very, very vague details. I don't really describe what's really going on for the details for the lands. I give very, very vague details. I focus more on the characters. I focus more on from the characters' perspective. The characters describe a lot of the lands through their perspective when you read my book. I focus less on telling and describing the details of the land. I focus more on the characters' perspective and what they see, what they think, hear, see, what's going on. So I describe the lands through the characters' perspective, what they're going through. That way it makes the story more interesting. I stay away from giving you a bunch of info dumps about what the land looks like. Otherwise, if you do that, your book can get boring. You see what I'm saying? And that's what J.R.R. Tolkien did. Don't hate me, J.R.R. Tolkien. Well, J.R.R. Tolkien's dead. But J.R.R. Tolkien, his one flaw is that he focuses a lot on telling. And he gives you so many info dumps. That's why his book can be a bit boring. And that's why Lord of the Rings, when you read it, even though it's a masterpiece, you can tell it's a dated book. Yeah, you can tell this is written by someone who was born a long time ago. It's not written by someone who was born now. When you read Game of Thrones and Brand Sanderson's book, Stormlight series, Harry Potter and all that stuff, the authors don't write the way J.R.R. Tolkien wrote. Yeah, they dump you with information, but not the way J.R.R. Tolkien did. As J.R.R. Tolkien dumps you with information page after page, it's so crazy that it's tough to grasp everything that's going on. It's tough to memorize all his characters, memorize all his lands, because he just constantly dumps you with information. It's crazy. You see what I'm saying? Hence why if J.R.R. Tolkien wrote Lord of the Rings today, his editor would cut out a lot of stuff in his book. Because he has a lot of stuff that drags on for pages, man, with his info dumps, man. Editors will cut that out today, man. Hence why when you read Lord of the Rings, you can tell it's a dated book. Yeah, when I read Lord of the Rings, you can tell it's a dated book. You can tell this is written by a man who was not born in our time. He was born at a different time. As people don't write like that today, you see what I'm saying? J.R.R. Tolkien was born in a different era. He was born at the dawn of the 20th century. And he was born in 1892, J.R.R. Tolkien. 100 years before I was born, you see what I'm saying? Yeah. Authors do not write books like that these days. You see what I'm saying? Even though J.R.R. Tolkien's book is a little boring, you guys know what I'm talking about. Even though it's a little boring, and he constantly dumps you, he still wrote a masterpiece. J.R.R. Tolkien wrote a masterpiece. There's a reason why Lord of the Rings movies were amazing. Because J.R.R. Tolkien's a genius, obviously. He wrote a masterpiece. I read the 3 books. They're good books, obviously, but you have to get used to the info dumps and the dated writing. If you're not used to his info dumps and the dated writing, you might find the book a bit too much, and you might even put it down. You won't be able to read it. You have to get used to J.R.R. Tolkien's info dumps and his dated writing. Because when you read his book, you can tell J.R.R. Tolkien's writing is very, very dated. See what I'm saying? As he drags on with info dumps for pages, man. It's crazy. He dumps you with lands, characters, trees, the forest, the sun, the door, the horse, the Shadowfax, the horse. He dumps you with everything. It's crazy. You know what I'm saying? He has Frodo and them camping for 2 days within like 2 pages. It's crazy, man. And the next day they journey for a mile. And the next day they camp again. It's crazy. Hence why you have to get used to the information dumps and and the dated writing. As long as if you do that, you will learn to appreciate what he wrote, obviously. You know, holy shit, J.R.R. Tolkien wrote a masterpiece. Yeah, Lord of the Rings is a masterpiece, obviously. It's almost as good as my book, obviously. It's more rich than my book, for the richer speech, richer world building than Zayn's, but Zayn's has a richer story. Yeah. Some Lord of the Rings fans might even like Lord of the Rings even better than my book, Zayn's. But I highly doubt, though, because Lord of the Rings is a drag to read, man. You see what I'm saying? Whereas my book is not a drag to read. It's interesting, man. Like, you're more entertained. You're hooked. The characters jump on the page. With Lord of the Rings, the world building jumps on the page. The world feels very real, but the characters are kind of dull. Whereas my book is the opposite. The world building jumps on the page in my book, too. Because I describe the world through the character's perspective. So instead of me dumping you with information about the lands, you know what I'm saying? I describe the lands through the character's perspective. How the characters feel, what they see, what they think. And that makes the world jump out too. Hence, I'm a genius. I know how to make the world jump out from the character's perspective. Instead of dumping you with information describing all lands. If you do that, your book can be a drag and it can get boring. It can become boring. You know what I'm saying? In some sections. You know what I'm saying? And all you Lord of the Rings fans, you know what I'm talking about, man. You guys all read the books. You know, I know what you're saying. Yeah, even though Lord of the Rings is a masterpiece, the book is known for being dry. J.R.R. Tolkien was criticized back when he released the books in the 50s for his book being a bit too dry, and it's, Lord of the Rings is known for being a black and white, like, dry, boring book. It's known, I'm not kidding around, Lord of the Rings, even though it's a masterpiece, it's known for being a bit boring and dry. Because J.R.R. Tolkien's writing is dated, and he dumps you with a bunch of stuff, page after page, man. Look, man, I read you half of Fellowship of the Ring. You guys know what I'm talking about, man. All you Lord of the Rings fans, Lord of the Rings, I know what I'm talking about. J.R.R. Tolkien's book can be a drag to read. Yeah, even though J.R.R. Tolkien's is a mastermind genius, he wrote a masterpiece, and I love his books. I'm a huge fan. Man, his book can be a drag to read sometimes, yes. Whereas Ivan's book is not a drag to read. It's fresh. It's not as boring as Lord of the Rings, and it's a lot more fresh. And it's not dated. It's not dated writing like when you read my book, you can tell my book was written by a modern author. Because Zayn's does not have dated writing. It's very, very fresh. And I get to the point. I don't drag on just dumping you with information. No, I get to the point scene after scene to keep the story pacing. You want to keep the story pacing, get to the point, and show, do not tell. I show a lot, I don't tell. That's why my book is very interesting, you know what I'm saying? If you focus more on the characters, obviously, less on the world building. If you focus on the characters and the character's perspective of the world building, that's showing, it's not telling. If you focus less on the characters and focus more on describing the lands and the world, that's more telling. And if you do that, your book can be more boring. You can still write an amazing book, obviously, but your book can be your book will be a bit boring sometimes. You know what I'm saying? In some sections. All you booktubers, all you Lord of the Rings nerds and Lord of the Rings Reddit, you know what I'm talking about. Lord of the Rings is known for being a bit boring, and it's a drag to read sometimes in some sections. And it can be a bit boring when you read it sometimes. And you guys know what I'm talking about. I know what you're talking about. Yes, you know what I'm talking about. The book can be a bit boring. See what I'm saying? Whereas Last of Us is not a boring book. It's not boring. All my chapters are all either pretty good or really, really good. There's some chapters that are not as great, obviously, but they're all good enough to keep you hooked to turn the page. As when you guys buy the ebook or buy the print, you know what I'm saying? When you guys buy the ebook or buy the print, obviously, all you Lord of the Rings nerds, when you buy that ebook or you buy your ebook for $22, $22 with taxes, like, I don't know, $27, whatever it is. You pay your $27, you buy the ebook, you read it. Let's see how good Ivan's book is. You read the prologue. Holy shit, the prologue's pretty good. I love the world of the North and the South. This is the Eagles. This is so cool. The life of Tacius the First, Tacius the Second born. I'm saying this is Queen Sarah. This is so cool. Eretat fulfilled his son being born. Yeah. The rituals in Barak. When Fulful is born, Eretat has like a huge ritual in Barak, and he drinks like blood and all stuff. Eretat drinks blood, man. He drinks like animal blood. But he's a cursed being, obviously. You're gonna see him, and he has a huge pavilion tent. That's where he sleeps, his royal tent, obviously, and he has like a silver chair, which is his throne. I don't describe the silver chair, what it looks like. All I say in the book is that he sits on the silver chair. The reason why I give vague details is that when I make my movie, I can play around with ideas for the silver chair, Eretat. I don't describe what Eretat's tent looks like. No, I don't really describe what Barak looks like. All I say is it's a barren wasteland. You have a bunch of pavilion tents around. You know what I'm saying? You have thousands of wolves living. That's all I say. And that's why I can play around with ideas for my world building, which is good. Obviously, see what I'm saying here? Yeah, Eretat drinks like blood, man. He drinks blood. You know, that's why looking at the best story ever told, man. Imagine a devil wolf king who's cursed in the south. You have like this ritual in Barak when Fulful was born. You know what I'm saying? You have like fire, and all the wolves are eating like raw meat. Because the wolves feast on human flesh. They also feast on animals. They eat like raw meat. I don't know. In the movie, I'll have Eretat. He takes like a live rabbit. He just like munches on it. In the book, I just say Eretat eats raw meat. But in the movie, I'll have him. He takes like a live rabbit. He just like munches on the rabbit because he's a cursed devil being. Yeah, he looks something crazy, man. And the wolves feast on human flesh. Just like the orcs also feast on human flesh too. Remember in Return of the King when you saw the orcs biting the people on their necks? Yeah, the orcs, the wolves are kind of like the orcs. They can feast on human flesh too. You'll see in the movie, you know how when the orcs are like man flesh. We will taste man flesh. You know what I'm saying here? Yeah, the orcs feast on human flesh too. The wolves also feast on human flesh too. In the book when you read it, obviously. They mainly eat like animal raw meat, obviously, but they also feast on human flesh. You'll see what I mean in the capture chapter. They feast on human flesh, yeah, man. Why do they feast on human flesh? Because they're cursed devil beings. They're cursed devil beings. That's why they feast on human flesh, because they're cursed. If the animals are cursed, you expect them to feast on human flesh. They're cursed. They're cursed devil beings. See what I'm saying? I have the bats feast on human flesh. I don't really mention the bats feasting on human flesh in the book, but the bats are also cursed beings too. You see what I'm saying? They hate the human soup. My point is, both the bats and the wolves hate what? They hate the humans, obviously, and they'll if they see them, they'll kill them. Kill them or capture them, right? There's exceptions where the wolves can capture the humans, but if a wolf sees a human, they will kill the human. They hate the humans, man. They don't like the humans. The Southrons live in the animal kingdom, obviously. Hence why the Southrons know. Hence why the Southrons know to never journey to the north, because they know the journey to the north is dangerous. You have to either pass through the main route. The main route is safer, obviously, because you have to pass through the Blood Valley. There's a chance you might spot a wolf. There's a chance the wild crows and wild ravens can kill you, and Eretat's crows can kill you. But it's not guaranteed the crows are going to kill you. The crows can see the humans and not harm the humans, obviously, but sometimes they can harm the humans. You know what I'm saying? They're dangerous animals, so they're cursed, obviously. The safer route is through the main route, obviously. If you can pass through the Blood Valley and pass through the wild ravens, wild crows, and Eretat spies, and you know what I'm saying, you could perhaps make it to the north, obviously, but don't forget the Northerns do not like the Southerns either. If the Northerns will not let the Southerns live with them, you see what I'm saying? They don't like the Northerns. They hate them. The Northerns hate the Southerns. Whereas the path through the ancient Gilead city, you will not make it to the north, as you have to go through the cursed thousands of mosquitoes that will kill you before you even make it to the entrance of the ancient Gilead city. And and you also have the Jaguars guarding the ancient Gilly city. And if you're not a trained fighter, you will not be able to beat the Jaguars. Hence, the safer route is through the what? The safer route is through the main path. Okay, Ivan, if the safer route is through the main path, why don't Tactius and them? Why don't Tactius and them take the main route? I don't want to spoil the story for you. All I'm gonna say is you have the land markings, and Tactius and them don't know how dangerous the ancient Gilead city is when they journey through there with the Saphians at the end of Volume 2. See what I'm saying here? They don't know. Tactius doesn't know, obviously. They don't know. Tactius and them know it's dangerous, but they don't know how they don't know the extent of how dangerous it is to cross through the ancient Gilead city. They don't know that there's hundreds of bats sleeping there. They don't know that Ephesus is what? Is what the king bat of that region. They don't know. They're clueless. The Southerns know about the legends of bats living there, obviously, but they don't know the ins and outs of it. They don't know that Ephesus is the king bat of the mountains. They know Eretat. Everyone knows about Eretat, but not everyone really knows about Ephesus. Ephesus is not as big as Eretat, you see what I'm saying? He's not as big as Eretat. But they know there's legends of bats that live in the caverns. You'll see what I mean when you read Volume 2. I'm going to get a drink of water here, guys. Alright. I have a good, I don't know, like 7 minutes left, 8 minutes left. 7 minutes left to speak, and I'll end the video here, guys. I'm tired. It is 5:30. It's getting light outside. I want to get my sleep. I'll upload the video around, I don't know, 9, 10 o'clock when they put back the internet cord. I'll upload it, and then I'll wake up probably around 3-ish, around there, and I'll watch my video. And I'll probably make a one video today when I wake up. And I'll get my beer and smokes as usual, obviously. Yeah, if you read the book, at the end of Volume 2, Eli talks about, there's legends of the bats that live in the caverns, and they are devils, and they're strong enough to kill a human being and all that stuff. There's legends. Stories have been passed down through the generations of the legends of the bats living in all the way in the west side of the cursed Western Glacier Mountains, obviously. And Tactius finds out that Ephesus is the king bat of the mountains, obviously, and that's all I'm going to say. I don't want to spoil the story for you. Tactius eventually finds out, all the Saphians, Tactius, his cousins, his friends, they all find out, Lithium, they all find out that Ephesus is the king bat of the mountains when they journey through the cave. Just like in The Hobbit, the first movie, when the hobbits journey through the mines, whatever it is, they find out the Goblin King captures them, obviously. They find out that the Goblin King is the king of that place, obviously. Just like Tactius finds out that Ephesus is the king bat of the mountains. And Tactius is frightened and he's scared. He's shitting in his pants. Because Ephesus is a devil, obviously. Yeah, man. Ephesus is a devil. And all I'm going to say in the Ephesus scene, you have when Tactius talks to Ephesus, the bats awake, obviously, and like 12 bats surround Tactius. Remember how in The Matrix, when in Reloaded, when all the Agent Smiths start to surround Neo in the park, obviously Neo fights them. Well, think something like that for Tactius. You have like these bats that come out of the darkness, these demonic bats, and 12 bats surround Tactius. Ephesus' army, obviously, in that room. Yeah, and Tactius, that's all I'm gonna say. I don't want to spoil the story for you. And the demonic beings. Imagine applying it onto the basic. Remember how you got that thing with Matrix? In the Matrix, when the Agent Smiths were surrounding Neo, that was pretty freaky, obviously. But think of some of that for the demonic bats. They surround Tactius, yeah. And Tactius is shitting in his pants, obviously. He's brave. Tactius is very brave, obviously, but he's shitting in his pants. Imagine you, an innocent prince, you go to that place and you fucking meet the devil himself, man. Ephesus is a devil, man. He's a devil king bat of the mountains, and he hates the humans. And he hates Tactius the most. He wants Tactius dead, obviously. All those beings hate Tactius, man. They all hate Tactius. Because Tactius is what? Tactius' generation is a lucky generation. That's all I'm going to say, man. Tactius' generation is a lucky generation. You see what I'm saying? Just like Fuful's generation is also a lucky generation, kind of. Fuful's generation is supposed to be the lucky generation too, obviously. Because they all have goals, obviously, and Ephesus' generation... No, Ephesus' generation is not Tactius' generation. Ephesus was born in Tactius the first generation. So Ephesus is an old dude. He's an older dude, obviously. But Ephesus does not have a son. You see what I'm saying? Whereas Eretat has a son, obviously. And Ephesus is a ninth generation. And then Eretat is a ninth generation. Fuful is a 10th generation. And Tactius is a 10th generation. Tactius is second is a 10th generation. His father is a ninth generation. And you have a 1,000 year history with the three lines of kings. The wolves, the bats, and the humans. The master wolves, the bats, and the humans. You have a history, a deep past between the three lines of kings. The bat line, the wolf line, and the human line. And that's why the plot of Xaius is very, very deep. So even though the main plot of the story is the clash of two kings, the clash of three kings actually. You have Eretat, you have Ephesus, and you have Tactius. A clash of three kings, obviously. But there's a deeper plot behind all that. You see what I'm saying? There's a deeper plot that drives the narrative of that story, of the Clash of Kings. There's a deeper plot that drives the narrative of the Clash of the Three Kings. That's why Xaius is a better story than Lord of the Rings. Because it has a very, very deep plot. It also has a deep past, too. It's not as deep as Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings has better world building than my book. But my book has amazing world building. You're looking at a deep past. You can easily make prequels with my story. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, man. You can easily make prequels with my Last of Us story. I wrote a masterpiece, guys. Hence why Mel Gibson and Peter Jackson are going to really, really fight for that job, man. Because what? They want to get that job so bad. Yeah, man. They want that job so bad. Eretat and Fuful, they want the job badly. That's why they're going to really fight and compete for that job, man. It looks to me crazy. They're going to really compete for that job because they want that job so bad. You see what I'm saying? They want that job so bad. Eretat and Fuful, they want that job badly. That's why they're really, really going to compete for that job. Anyways, that's it for this video. I am tired now. I'm going to go to bed. I'll upload this video in a couple hours from now, around 9, 10, 11 o'clock around there. I'm signing up. Peace.